morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And how I love you all so. And I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously. So what do we do? 3, 2, 1, my juicy little lights. Thank you, little lights. You're delicious and bright, yes. Okay. You seem to be going more this side at the moment, my delicious little babies. Now then, I hope that wherever you are in the world, that life is treating you most deliciously. One must keep a handle on it. Okay, now then, yeah. So the same thing has happened with the light outside my flat, my delicious little babies. So it did the same thing yesterday evening. Okay, so it went off and then it decided to go back on again. Then it went off and then it went back on again. Okay, my delicious little babies, there is a little bit of a pause in between these times. Okay, but it wasn't happening with any other lights. Okay, so even if you change every single light in the street or on the road, the fact of the matter is that it would usually be minutes, wouldn't it? A small amount of minutes, you know what I mean, if it goes. But no, there is definitely something, there we are, else going on. There's 2 handles here, my delicious little babies. Now then, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? So it is 20 past 1 in the afternoon, my delicious little babies, on the 20th of November 2025. I actually put yesterday as being the 20th when it flipping wasn't, was it? It was the flipping 19th. Anyway, not to worry, not to worry. And right, so that's that sorted. Okay, now I have one video today, but before I say that, the sun has got his hat on, hip 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 hooray. So there is a bit of sun, there's some light blue sky, and yeah, it is rather chilly, okay, today, but well, as to be expected, really. Now then, my delicious little babies, so this video here, I'm halfway through. It's not a long video, it is on YouTube. I was looking for the videos and I came up with this one. Now, it never came up on my feed. No, it did not. I was actually looking for the videos, but I've only got one today. Okay. This uploader, this was uploaded 5 days ago, and this uploader happens to have 1.5 thousand subscribers. Okay. Now, the uploader is called Domino. I'm going to spell it out for you, my delicious little babies. Capital DOMINOR. Domino. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? And the video should read, now some will probably know this, but others will not, okay? But I just thought, you know what? I thought I've heard something like this, there we are, similar before, okay? But this was years ago when this happened. But the fact of the matter is that I actually feel that this is very, there we are, true. Okay, my delicious little babies, and then we shall discuss, okay? Because on my channel, there we are, it is about truths, isn't it, my delicious little babies? Or, to the best of my ability, when I give out videos, okay? Or if I read information, say on DuckDuckGo or something like this, now then, I do it, there we are, to the best, there we are, of my ability, okay? So, it's about, this is over 33 minutes long, okay, my delicious little babies, and no, it's not coding, okay, it's just the amount of minutes. Machiavelli's brutal truth about female nature. Okay, my delicious little babies, so I'm just going to repeat this again for you, shall I? Machiavelli's brutal truth about female nature. Now then, so that's the only video for today, and now I'm going to close my book. And we must always remember to go backwards to where we need to go back to. Now then, what is it that I want to say, okay? Well, listening halfway through this, because the thing about mankind. I prefer to call mankind, okay? Some are called humans, but there we are, as we very well know, this has been the label that has been slapped on our foreheads. Ones may not be able to see the literal word, but we hear the word circle, 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 circling around for many decades, okay? Just like, they can call I mean, I love little sheep, it's just, what I'm explaining here. Just like they call us sheep. Even Pink Dink Fingers, that putrid fake king in our old England, my delicious little babies, okay? He has been known to call us, you and I, my delicious little babies, sheep. It's like you can have one sheep, which they call dog, I prefer, our beautiful little sons and daughters. But if you turn the word around, it does say God, doesn't it? Anyway, the fact of the matter is, my delicious little babies, it's like you have one sheepdog, to all of the sheep. You see what I mean, my delicious little babies? But let me get back to the matter in hand. I'm overrunning my tail. So that's an old-fashioned Irish saying, my delicious little babies. Now then, so if we really take a very close look at ourselves, each and every one of us, okay? Well, there's been some point in this video where we've all been a certain way. Each and every one of us have. And by the way, Machiavelli, he never had a very good time, speaking, there we are, home truths, shall we say, okay? And when you look at it, he covers all different angles. So he'll cover everything from family to friends to work colleagues to bosses. He covers, there we are, all across the spectrum. Do you understand what I mean? Yes, okay? And when I listen to this video, and this is why I've mentioned this video today, my delicious little babies, because I know that some will think, what's this crazy woman? Well, I'm not crazy at all. There's absolutely nothing wrong with myself. However, should anybody ever feel that way about myself, who really does not know me at all, then I would strongly suggest that they need a checkup from the neck up, because it certainly isn't myself, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? Now, when I look at myself from a young age, well, I'm still young now. I'm talking about when I was a little girl. When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? you know that's a song, okay? Anyway, my delicious babies. Well, as it turned out, no one ever asked that question, okay? It just came into my noddle, okay, maybe the year of the song. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not as you see. Que sera, sera. Okay, my delicious little babies, see, you do see me smile occasionally, my delicious little babies. I do have a little laugh occasionally. Well, I do every day, actually. I always found something to laugh about each and every day, you know what I mean? So let's get back to the matter in hand. So yes, so when I was young, I would have said about myself that I was not a selfish little girl at all. I would always, my dad was very strict, with sweeties, with anything like this now then, okay, very strict indeed. We wasn't allowed to have fizzy pop or, things like this now then. Me personally, I do not see that as a bad thing, okay? But I mean, if it's the occasional treat for some, fair enough. But, when you're having it on a day-to-day basis, like in all the shops, no matter where you go, everything is Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Well, it flies off the shelves, doesn't it, my delicious little babies? But the question is, if you can clean a toilet that is filthy dirty in a derelict house, just with one massive bottle of Coca-Cola, ones may like to ask themselves what it is doing to one's insides. Anyway, that's all besides the point. Get back to the matter in hand. So what is it that I'm saying? So if anybody needed anything, to the best of my ability, if I had it, I would give. Do you know what I mean? Even if I've seen somebody, could be anywhere, could be anything, okay? Even at school, anyway, that's another matter. I did do that. Anyway, the fact of the matter is this, that I would do that, my dad wouldn't notice anything missing. Do you understand what I mean? And I would give. Do you understand what I mean, okay? Because to myself, I felt that I was being kind, being nice, and that's the way that I was brought up to be. And then in my teenage years, I was the same, because I was always laughing, joking with everybody. I was always having a laugh and a joke, you know what I mean? If you never saw me, you'd certainly hear me. You'd hear my gob. Do you see what I mean, okay? But in my early teenage years, okay, everybody used to call me everything from Mad Carla to, do you understand what I mean, okay? Because nobody ever really saw me upset or, anything fazed me in any way. Do you see what I mean? I just got on with things, even though we never had, I would say, what do you call, like with Kaching or anything like this now then. And, I went through my mummy. Oh, I love her so. I've already said good morning. Well, my mummy and daddy, bless, my dear dad as well, went through a divorce, went through all of these things, okay? But it never stopped my ability from when I was young of being nice to others. Do you see what I mean, okay? So even if I saw families who were still together, I wasn't one of those who looked on the outside and thought, oh, I wish I had a family like that. No. Because what I had is what I had. You see what I mean? And then I was super duper blessed because I had such a beautiful and dear, how I love my beautiful dear little nanny and granddad. So once again, I have said good morning, which I do every day, and afternoon, evening, and good night. Well, I was very blessed to have such beautiful nanny and granddad. You see what I mean? So over the years, so I hit my early 20s. And then, you start to see life. Well, I mean, I've seen it from a teenager. Well, to be honest, I've seen it from when I was little, but like I just said, you just get on with it. But it was not until, I would say, the latter part of my teenage years. Do you understand what I mean, okay? In my early 20s. And, you can really see how vile some can be. And this is both man and woman. Goes both ways. Okay? Anyway, so throughout my life, I always continued and I just thought, you know what, Carla, just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And just do what you got to do. And, it's like if ever I went for a job, there we are. 9 times out of 10, there we are. You're always guaranteed I would get. Do you understand what I mean? Okay, so I would regard myself as very extrovert, always have been, and especially in those earlier years, I was very, shall we say, ambitiously, there we are, is the correct word to use, ambitiously driven, okay? So, because I said from when I was little, 9-year-old, because I said from when I was little, I just put my hands on my hips one day. We're living in a council flat, and I looked up with my little pumps on, and I just said out loud, which I did. I said, one day, I said, I'm going to have my own flat. And of course, there we are. When I was 23, I got it. I was 26 when I sold it, but that was, different things surrounding it. It was nothing to do with finances, my delicious babies. It was to do with a personal matter, okay? But I decided that I no longer, let's just say, wanted to live there, okay? Not because of neighbours, not because of anything else. Anyway, like I said, it's a personal matter. But the fact of the matter is, I did that. And it was like, how can I explain it? Because I've had quite a few light bulb moments. You know, the old light bulb, you know, goes on in your noddle. And I thought, do I really want to buy properties? Do I really want to? And I thought, no. Because I've always had this feeling within, in my heart and soul, that I've always wanted, there we are, to feel free or to be near water or to do you understand what I mean? But I feel as though it was in my blood from my beautiful dear granddad, and then, you know, my beautiful dear granddad on my beautiful dear granddad's side, do you know what I mean? Okay, where, you know, it was a lot was to do with the sea. So I truly feel, there we are, there is something in you know, within myself, in my blood, do you see what I mean, to feel that way, okay? So when I do not feel that I'm near to water, I get a little bit, do you see what I'm saying, okay? And it's the way I've always felt, do you see, okay? So I'm hoping that you're following what I'm saying, Martin, little babies, please and thank you. You know, sometimes I do ramble on, and this is not rehearsed. It's just what's coming out me trap, out me gob. So, well, sometimes you know, will embark, you know, on a relationship and go into relationships, you know, and you know that it's not for yourself, you know, and even though you know that it's going to upset you, well, it does, it upsets somebody else, you know. I've had to, you know, walk away, you know what I mean? Because I knew it wasn't good for my heart, and I knew it wasn't good for my noddle, and I knew it wasn't good for my soul. And to be honest, you know, I used to have mates who used to say to me, I'm going back, you know, a few decades ago now, but you say, well, how could you give that up? You know, you had the offer of a house, you had the offer of everything. And that's not just once, Martlish babies. I've had it 3 or 4 times. Do you understand what I mean? There we are. So it's not just once, Martlish babies can. And I said, no. I said, as long as I can earn a wage, as long as, do you understand what I mean? I said, I don't want to have to be beholden. Do you see what I mean? If my heart's not in it. So I was listening to the video today, and I thought, yes, I've done that. So maybe some would call that selfish. Well, I feel that I was being very kind to myself, actually. Okay? It's like the way that I've been throughout my life when it comes to family. I'm the same there. Nobody for all these years can quite understand me. And sometimes you'll hear somebody say, well, I cannot really understand myself. Well, I can actually. Because I'm happy being on my own. There we are. I'm really, there we are, truly happy being on my own. So if that is selfish, then in anybody else's eyes who happens to cross my channel, well, then it's selfish in their eyes. For myself, I really couldn't give a shit. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I've done my job. Then you look at, like, you know, say, if I don't know, could be anything. If somebody, you know, it's old-fashioned saying, Martish babies, you know, somebody puts the foot down, says, oh, I'm not putting up with that, or whatever else. Well, I see nothing wrong with that. Because unless you continue to not put your foot down, well, again, just figure of speech, you're going to be walked all over, aren't you? So again, I do not see that as being selfish either. But in this video, especially at the beginning, Machiavelli, well, it's the man who's talking, you know, about Machiavelli, bless. And with anybody not in that way, he says that, you know, each and every one of us whether it's for one reason or another. And he was like talking about love. Well, I mean, I've said many times, once I heard me years ago on my videos, where I've said, and anyway, I've said this for years and years and years. This is nothing new. Do you understand what I mean, my delicious little babies? It may be to some who, never heard me speak like this before, but to anybody who knows me, no, this is nothing new at all. I mean, how many times have you seen somebody who's been super duper, truly, deeply, madly in love? Oh, there used to be a song, didn't there? Truly, what was it? Truly, madly, deeply, sorry, okay? Where, again, another figure of speech, they bend over backwards for whoever they're with. How many times do you see it? I mean, there's tons of videos on this. There's tons of books on this. And really, to tell you the truth, you only have to walk into different town centres or wherever else, you know what I mean? And you'll see, if you've got a couple, who's the boss? Do you know what I mean? Who, basically, when it comes to, there we are, decisions or anything, you can certainly tell, there we are, who the boss is in that relationship. Now, if you look, say, there's plenty on different platforms, and there's plenty of, say, women. Well, you get some men, but the majority is women, I would say, there we are, personally. Where they're clearly, their desire is to look for, there we are, a super duper rich and delicious man in their house. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Yes. And when they get who it is they get, well, let's just put it this way, in order to keep one happy, they'll do whatever is necessary, there we are, to keep your man there, where, for your eyes only and all that crap. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? And so that man doesn't look at anybody else, that is only solely, there we are, focusing on that woman. Because as long as her flash brum brum wheels car and ching 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 and handbags and shoes and Botox and booby lifts and bum lifts and whatever else lift, okay, my delicious little babies, is keeping her accustomed to how she wants to be, she will stay with that man. So if one's feel that I'm saying wrong here, then fair enough. I personally do not feel that I am. So what's the question that I'm asking in all of this? Is that woman truly there for the correct, there we are, reasons? I would say 9 times out of 10, and depending on what type of bloke they go for and all this now then, and how old, whatever, I would say no. Because they're not being true to themselves. They're living in what I call a very fake and false, there we are, world. And then they feel that they have to look a certain way in order to attract what it is as a magnet that they want to attract. So if you look at a man, whether he be older, middle-aged or younger, the fact of the matter is they're all looking for something, aren't they? Now, let's change it to business. Now, in this video, it was talking about to do with a boss, like words to effect, like a boss can have somebody for X amount, whatever, a clock of years. And no matter how loyal, how many times have we heard this in the decades? There we are. How many times have we heard it? No matter how loyal that your man there, your woman there, was loyal to the heart, always clocking on time. If they have to work later, always leave later, even without extra pay, You know what I mean? Do everything meticulously well, okay? But say if the boss fell on hard times, or say if he wanted to retire, there we are, and wanted to retire. Well, how many bosses do you actually know? Because I do not know any myself personally, and I haven't for decades. How many do you actually know who would say, you know what, you've been such an excellent employee. I'm going to try and find you, especially if they're still needing to work until a 60 odd or whatever, man or woman. Yes, okay, bless. Well, I'm going to try and find somebody else who can take you on. How many are going to do that? No, what they're going to do is they're going to shut up shop. They're going to take the retirement and they're not going to give a fiddler's F. It's like, hit the road, Jack. You know what I mean? So if you really look at it, it's like if somebody's building a business. 9 times out of 10, they'll never, let's just say, if they're as true as what they can be, they'll never ever let anybody get in the way of that. They will just continue, there we are, to climb that ladder. But what do they do in the process of climbing the ladder? They have to, not in physical, it's just another figure of speech. They have to trample over somebody else in order to do it. Do you see what I'm saying, Mads, little babies? So that's halfway through. And I'm just saying it in the way that I see it. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So usually in each and every one of our lives, each and every one of us has done something in this video. Whether it is be selfish in some way, whether it is a relationship. I would always say that I've always been kind in a relationship. Please do not get me wrong. If I feel that somebody needs, I don't mean this in literal terms, by the way, I'm talking about a figure of speech. If I need to bang somebody to rats and tell them off, there we are, then I shall do so. So I say to my camera. Hence the reason why my relationships have clearly not worked out very well. Because I'm just not going to be, shall we say, treated like a piece of shit. Do you see what I mean, Mads, little babies, okay? Because very sadly, in decades and decades from what I've seen, as much as I've seen beautiful, dear couples, and I know many now who've been together, 30, 40, 50 years, I have seen many other couples where it's not the kind of a laugh that I would ever want. Do you see what I mean, Mads, little babies? So sometimes, what's the point I'm saying? Whether it be business, whether it be family, whether it be work colleagues, whether it be husbands, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, the fact of the matter is, at some point, we've all been selfish. There we are, we have. And if we feel that something is going to, get us from A to B. Oh, yeah, let me give you just a fine example. That's just came into my noddle. Now, when my daughters were little, okay, well, the thing was, I used to see a lot of, nanas, especially nanas. Sometimes I used to see granddads, because they'd retired by that time. And I used to, see them, and I used to have a little natter to them, you know what I mean? But in my noddle, I always said to myself, I'm not going to be like that. And I made no secret about it. I told my daughter's Papa Bear, bless him, not in that way, not in that way. I told him. I told my dear friends. Yeah. I said, I'm not going to be one of those. Now, for most, they would say, Wow, it would be lovely to look after your little grandbairns. Yes, I'm not saying that. But what I'm also saying is, many, many, many years ago, with the conversations that I had, you get the odd ones who would say, it's my retirement now, and you know what I mean, and my son or my daughter wants me to come and pick up, then they'd always say, please do not get me wrong, Carla. I love them. I love them with all my heart. They always say that. But they truly wanted the freedom as well. Because the way that they seen it was, they'd brought up their sons and daughters. So they had no problem, looking after little grandbairns, their little babies, at times. But this was like a regular thing. It was like every day, collect them from school, or every day take them to school or nursery, to and from nursery. And for the odd ones, I had conversations with them and they said, And then, of course, it was very interesting because years later, when, I bumped into some of these dear women now, dear ladies, and I had conversations. And they say, oh, we don't, I say, oh, how's your family, and everything like this. So, I don't really see much of them now. The amount of times, Martha look babies, there we are, that I heard that. You see what I mean? So what is it that I'm saying there in what I've just said? You have a purpose, don't you? Because you have a use. You see, it probably doesn't sound very nice the way that I'm saying this. But it's very true. I mean, you'll get others where they're super duper close like this. And they grow up, and they probably just live around the corner from each other. Do you know what I mean? Okay? And they see each other all the time. But you have other families where once their job is done and then the grandbairns are grown up, then they're no longer needed because their family's off doing other things. There we are. So all I'm doing is just telling the truth. Like I said, I would have no problem, from time to time, once my daughters have, with their careers and everything. I'd just like to make that very, very clear. That's just to myself personally, okay? When they seem to be doing, there we are, very well, at the moment. Bless them. And let that continue, bless them both, okay? But my point is, will I be one of these nanas who, mum's got some more spare time on her hands, so you know what I mean, like this. And then they get older, my little band, grandbairn gets older, and then, then my family, basically, they just don't want to know because you've had your use. There we are. Well, I'm not going to be one of those. And I said this however o'clock, how many years ago. There we are. So it's not that I do not love my daughters, and it's not that I do not love my little grandbabies, when they arrive. I'm not saying that. It's just that my life would have, I should imagine, there we are, very much changed by then. I'd probably be in a loving relationship, and, if I need to travel somewhere else, I need to be somewhere else, you know what I mean? There we are, then I will be somewhere else. I'm not going to just be somewhere because somebody wants me to be there. Or that you have to feel obligated, there we are, that's the word, to do that. Because I will not do that either. Now, they're probably in the world, I'm sure, because, you always get some mothers do have them, where they look at this video and think, what a selfish little bitch. No, I'm not selfish at all. I've done my job. There we are. And as I feel, there we are, I've done a very good job. There we are. So I've got nothing more to say about that. So I probably come across as a very selfish bitch, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, I do not see myself as being selfish at all. But what's the point I'm going to end with this? It can happen in any part of anybody's life. That's the point I'm making. So you can get some families who are just super duper wonderful and delicious. They're just like that, very close knit. And then you got other families. I've met all different types anyway. There we are, over my decades, bless them, okay? And I know some beautiful families, okay? But I've also met someone who said, oh, I love so-and-so. Oh, I love them, they're my family member, them, but I don't really want to, sorry, excuse me, I don't really want to go here. I don't really want to do that, but I'm going to go like this. Well, the fact of the matter is, if they do not want to do something, just do not do it. Just say no. Maybe it's because I've lived the best way to explain it, I've had to grow up very quick in my decades. My delicious little babies, there we are, very super duper quick indeed. Okay? And I had to learn everything very, very, very quickly. There we are. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? And I learned so much. And I thought to myself, I'm still young now. And I thought, what is the thing that I absolutely adore? There we are, more than anything else in this world. Right now, if I have to explain it right now on my camera, my delicious babies, I really love and adore, there we are, is peace. Tranquility. Not having to answer to anybody. Not have anybody saying, oh, you're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. You could do this better. No, because I had that from when I was little. I certainly don't want it now. I do not. You see what I mean? Okay? And that's all that I have to say, really. But when it comes to my healings as a qualified angelic healer, I will always, there we are, do my best to help somebody. You know what I mean? But if I do not want to do something, then I would just say, no, I do not want to do it. That's it. So what's the point to what I'm saying? I do not feel like I'm a selfish woman at all, but I can certainly relate to that video with what was said. And I'm pretty sure that anybody else who crosses my channel today, or, whenever, YouTube decides to let me become a little bit more visible, and whoever else took the information down to look at that video, because this is not about my video, this is about about the information I'm giving out. Then they go, you know what? How could anybody disagree with this video? I really just do not see. Because I certainly did not. Because halfway through, I could, you can relate to, you know what I mean? Or there's always somebody who who's gone through something, if you have not gone through it yourself. Do you see what I mean? So with myself, I just speak from the heart. Can I be selfish at times? Yes, I can. Do I feel bad about being selfish? No, I do not. Why should I? You know what I mean? I believe that sometimes each and every one of us, I feel we should be selfish. I'm not telling anybody to. I'm just saying I feel we should. Because if you want to do something in your life, or you're in between, you're on stepping stones, whatever it may be, you have to be able to say to yourself, right, I need this time for me, for myself. So if you're donating all your time to everybody else, well, then what are you doing for yourself? So what would I be doing for myself if I'm donating every second of my waking hours for others? Well, that doesn't make any ding, ding, dong, dong any sense to myself at all, personally. That's the way I see it anyway. But if you listen to the bit about the work, it's very true. It's a bit like what's going on in the world, isn't it, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? When your services is not required anymore. You know, there's always method, there we are, to what I do, to what I say. Do you see what I mean? I never ever just do not say anything for no reason. Do you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that, you know, for those of you, anybody who's ever watched my videos, there we are, you will clearly know this. Do you see what I mean? I never ever just do anything just for no reason. It's like I could be very loving. You know, what's a figure of speech? Sometimes there we are, like a hole in the head. Sorry, bad disrespect, but it's true. You know what I mean? So I can have me loving moments, you know, meaning, you know, my beautiful little babies who we call our little sons and daughters, or if it's my friends or something like this now then, do you know what I mean? I can have my loving moments. You know what I mean? Or, you know, my daughters, you know, on occasion. You know what I mean? I can have my loving moments. Not very often, but I can. And someone say, well, what has made this woman the way she is now? It's because I've seen, there we are, I've seen and done a lot of things. There we are. Do you say? So it makes you who you are. And in my case, I'm not speaking for yourself, sorry, my spouse. It makes me, there we are, who I am. You see what I mean? This is why there are many who do find me, there we are, they do over the years, there we are, very complicated. How I could be just so really lovely and everything, do you know what I mean? But if somebody was across the land, that's it. There we are, job done. Do you see what I mean? But you'll see others in the world where it doesn't matter what somebody does. They just continue and continue and continue to put up with the shite. We're seeing it so much in the world, aren't we, my delicious little babies? Do you see what I mean? Doesn't matter, just another figure of speech. What one throws at another, they will just take it. Do you know what I mean? This is where we're at. So I am a kind woman and I am a nice woman to know. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I refuse to put up with shat and listen to shat. Do you see what I mean? Because that is not becoming of me. Okay? So that's what I want to say, but please take a listen to the video. And, you know, women do have a nature. I haven't heard that last bit yet to hear this, okay? But yeah. But the one thing I will say is I've never ever gone out with anybody for ching, ching, ching. I've never done that. And believe you me, in my decades, there we are, I've had plenty of opportunities. You see what I mean? So, you know, and I have been, you know, with wealthy boyfriends. Do you understand what I mean, Martin? But that's not what it was about. I never went out seeking for it. I certainly did not. I could say that wholeheartedly. So this is what I say. To come back to yourself, there we are, is a wonderful thing to do. But because we've been overrun by material things, remember Madonna, Material World? That was one of her songs, wasn't it? What year was that? So because you've had all these things, others then there we are become lost in what they're doing. But you also have the side where ones they feel as though they're helping others, and in many ways they are, but then in other ways they're not helping others. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Okay, so we see it a lot in the world. But can I honestly say that each and every one of us at times in our life have been selfish? Then I would say there we are, absolutely. I personally, halfway through the video, cannot fault it, and I'll listen to the other half. I've got no problem doing that at all. Do you know what I mean? So that's really all that I want to say for today. So if you feel that I've, nattered on, rambled on, well, I'm sorry that you felt that way, And if anybody does listen to my video and they do feel that it's crock of shart or boring, nobody has to listen, do they? That's a simple thing, you see. Nobody has to listen to the video. If it is not to their liking, do not listen. Simple things. Do you see what I mean? All I do is give out information, but I just fancied having, there we are. I just fancied having a natter today. But yeah. It's like, we're taught, aren't we? You've got to be kind all the time. Like I said, I am kind. But I'm not going to be made a mug of. Just another old-fashioned saying, Martin, babies. Do you understand what I mean? Because like I said, that's not becoming of you, is it? Do you see what I mean? So if anybody makes anybody else make a mug of them or make them look like an Egypt, well, they really shouldn't be around that type of a man or woman, in my view. Do you know what I mean? So, very lastly, I'm just going to say, okay, because it has gone on a bit, and I'm not saying that because I feel that I'm boring, because I personally do not feel I'm boring with what I've just said. I'm not a boring woman anyway. What I'm saying is I just choose to live, there we are, in peace, love and harmony. To be peaceful and loving to myself. Do you understand what I mean, Marzish babies? And to my beautiful little babies, I see nothing wrong with that. And to my beautiful dear little friends, I see nothing wrong with that. But there's a time to be kind. There's a time to focus on oneself, whether that's in business, whether it's in their working life, you know what I mean? There's a time to donate time to family and friends, but there's a time that ones must, there we are, keep for themselves. And I see nothing wrong with that. And that's how I'm going to leave my video. So I'm hoping that you're getting where I'm coming from, my delicious little babies, okay? I'm just explaining some things now. It's just that instead of putting, say, 20 A4 pages ruled of what it is I wanted to say, I've just done it in 40 odd minutes. Okay, my delicious little babies. So wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, please have a super duper delicious time. You only get one life, my little honey bunnies. Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. And may your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected. And how I love you so. But yes, I just feel we're in a world now, and especially since the old lockdown, for some, they're trying to find, there we are, they're trying to find their footing. So we thank the uploaders who, for each and every one of you, not in that way, who are giving your inputs in one way or another. So, thank you for doing that. And, especially ones who, help with, I should imagine, ones who are having relationship problems, whether it be friends, family, work, bosses, whatever, you know what I mean? We thank those uploaders as well. You know what I mean? Because there's always somebody out there who needs, there we are, that help themselves. But we're in very much, let's just say, it's a little bit arsey-darsey, and the reason why I say it is because because they've been feeling lost, they've got to find a way to come back. You see what I mean? Which, of course, each and every one of us, because each and every day we're constantly, there we are, working on ourselves. You know what I mean? Whether you're working on yourselves to help somebody else out there, you know, maybe somebody's going through an experience, and then their experience can then help, with that experience, help somebody else. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so it is a case of learning. That looks like a moustache. You know those old-fashioned moustaches that you used to have, like that? It looks like one of them, doesn't it, my delicious little babies, anyway? Sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. May your beautiful little selves, your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected. But yes, please look after yourselves. And just know when it is to be calmed, know when it is to pull in the reins, you know when it is to have time for yourself, and know when it is time to share your time with others. Yeah, that is, and this is where I feel that one's now, that's why I said it's arsey-darsey, because some are trying to balance from an old way of thinking to a new way of thought, because that's why it's called thinking, because you have to think. This is just my thoughts on this. It usually means no. But if they're going from an old way of thinking to a new thought, well, that means it means something, because it is a thought. You're actually, your thoughts are on that particular subject or topic or changes that one wants to make. There we are. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyway, so until my next video, so very much love. I hope that when you watch that video, you can see, you know, but if anybody was to feel offended by that, well, it's telling myself, there we are, that there's something wrong with that man or woman, there we are, who's listening to it. And that's not being nasty. I'm just done telling it the way it is. Because each and every one should be able to take a little piece out of what that video, there we are, is saying. Do you say? Anyway, so bless Machiavelli. Okay, but anyway, I've known Diggs now for decades. There we are. Do you know what I mean? Okay, but it's just a really lovely video to advertise for ones to listen to. It certainly gives food for thought. That's what I'm saying. So if anybody out there was not sure about themselves in some way, I mean, you know, somebody else could be super duper sure about themselves in any other way. But I'm talking about if there's something that they're stuck on, that they're needing to move forward with. You know, this type of video, there we are, I just think is banging to help anybody, really. But I haven't done that for myself that I need to. It's just, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to listen to it, I'm going to advertise it. There we are, and that was genuine. Do you know what I mean? Okay, my babies, but I will still continue to advertise, you know, whoever I can find, or the occasional things that come up on my feed, you know, and if I feel it's going to be useful to anybody out there, you know, I'll just do it as a hobby. But it's something that I enjoy. There we are. I really super duper enjoy. There we are. My little hobby. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Okay, I know that some are just say, well, you know, you probably could have got a lot of ka-ching, ching, ching. You just done your reads. Oh, no. I like doing what I. There we are. I like doing what I do. Do you know what I mean? Because it's very fascinating for myself as well. Because if there's videos that I have not seen, I think, oh, I've never seen you before. Do you know what I mean? So we're constantly, there we are, learning. And if you look at it, you've got thousands of uploaders. We've got tons of information on all different search engines. You know, we've got all of that. So when you look at it, there we are just truly blessed. There's always a little bit that you can take from a different video or from a piece of writing or anything, or a painting or anything. Okay, my delicious babies, so much love. Thank you once again for listening. Thank you sorry, rewind and start again. Thank you for any views and thank you for any likes. Okay, how I love you always. Take care. Goodbye.